Maybe we'll go out to Dorchester for you.
All right, looks like we
Oh,
have a
come
live
on down.
stream.
Come on down. We've got great places. We have a lot of boutique restaurants down here. You'll love it. If you're into seafood, of course.
Yes.
It's always a great plug. We are streaming, correct, David?
It appears so.
Okay. Looks like we have. All right. Hello, everyone. I am starting and declaring a quorum for today's State Board of Elections meeting, April 23rd, 2026. Are there any additions for the agenda? All right, hearing none, moving forward. Approval of the minutes.
I have a one request, Mr. Chairman. That would be to add my name as in attendance on at least the draft I looked at. I didn't see my name, although there were various places where I was referenced in the meeting minutes.
This is open meeting minutes, March 26, 2026.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You're asking that we update your name or
But that you add my name to be in attendance. When I
Oh,
looked at
okay.
it last, I didn't see it in the minutes. I saw my name referenced in different places along the discussion lines, but I didn't see it as an attendee at the top of
At
the
the top of the page. Okay.
yes.
Yeah. We can make those corrections. Yes.
All right. Well, we'll bring that back once the corrections are applied for next meeting. All right.
With that in mind, Mr. Chair, I move the minutes are approved as amended.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly seconded. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please indicate by raising your hand if there's no other amendments. Thank you also very much. So moved. And for the closed meeting minutes, March 26, 2026, hopefully each of you reviewed those closed meeting minutes. Are there any recommendations or edits to be applied to those closed meeting minutes? All right. Hearing none, chair is open for a motion to accept and approve the closed meeting minutes. So moved by Vice Chair Shalak. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Those closed meeting minutes are approved unanimously. Thank you all very much. Now on to the State Administrator's report, Jared.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm just going to you've received the administrator's report in advance and it's been published. So I'm just going to hit some of the highlights of what from the administrator's report here. First up, legislative session has come to a close. That also means the fundraising prohibition has also come to a close for members of the General Assembly, the governor, lieutenant governor, comptroller, and treasurer. So they can all start fundraising now. But it was a very successful legislative session for us. Our departmental bills all were passed in some fashion, so that's excellent. The first one is the address confidentiality program enrollee management. Basically, now we have one point person at the State Board of Elections that is designated to work with the Secretary of State's office and to handle any individual who's in the address confidentiality program and wanting to know about voting rights. It streamlines the process and makes it one point of contact for them. So it's good management skills there rather than dealing with 24 jurisdictions possibly. Our early voting bus stop bill, which is passed, which requires county bus routes if an early voting center is within a half a mile of an early voting center to stop during that period. But that's going to be in effect for the 2028 election. The restoration of individuals who were previously registered voters but had their voter registration I guess, canceled because they were incarcerated of a felony. Once upon release, it will be restored. That was passed, but that effectiveness is not for the 2026 election, but at future dates. And we'll be working with the Department of Corrections on making sure we get the relevant information to restore those individuals' voting rights. We have more stuff with municipal elections that we're starting to post so that there's more of a depository for information there. And some of the Mayo initiatives here, which was about board council and the qualifications. This was a big one for them. Basically, it removed the county restrictions. So now an LBE board council all has to be a registered voter and a barred in the state of Maryland. So you don't have to be a county resident as well. And that frees up a lot of the smaller counties that had issues with trying to retain board council at that point. We have had a couple of other bills here. The other Mayo initiative here was about keeping peace in the polling places, and that was expanded to include the election directors as well as myself and the deputy administrator to have some authority over polling places. These are the same abilities that election judges currently have, and also codifying some policies and procedures with challengers and watchers, but that was a Mayo initiative. In the end, we've had the other departmental bill, which was Senate Bill 153, House Bill 267, which was about control of the funds, and really just kind of solidified that the treasurer is the chief financial steward of the campaign. The campaign, all the assets are owned by the campaign, so they made it very clear as to who owns the assets of the campaign, the role of the treasurer, and to kind of define that anybody who's an agent has to still abide by basically the purpose of the entity and all the laws associated with it, and who can appoint individuals to act on behalf of the campaign. And then finally, the last one, which we'll have a more robust discussion later on in the agenda here, but it was passed Senate Bill 949. It's the canvassing of absentee ballots. This will be in effect possibly for the general election. There is no impact on the primary election. The bill does two things. One, it codified the postmark rule for Maryland in our COMAR regs, which was basically said that if a mail-in ballot is postmarked on or before Election Day, but received within 10 days after Election Day, that it is to be counted. So they codified that regulation. And then finally, it said that if there was any sort of federal action, judicial action about whether to count a ballot received after Election Day but was timely sent, that we're supposed to count state and local offices at that point. And so that they wanted to affirm that. Also in that bill, which we will start doing for the general election, is the public communications regarding web delivered ballots is to now be considered to be known as print at home ballots. So it is to make sure that voters know that when you get a web delivered ballot, that you have to be at your house printing it. You have to have a printer with stamps and an envelope at that point there. So it's not that you can never email a ballot back to us. We've always made that clear. But hopefully with this public communication element now, that it will be even crystallized further with the public so that they know what's going on. We've had, keep on the filing deadline, and the Candidacy and Campaign Finance Division is moving forward here. We had the spring report for the division, which was basically every committee that was created after we sent out pre-report notices to campaigns for the annual report. And so years ago, the General Assembly wanted to make sure that those committees weren't not reporting until much later. So the spring report only affects those committees that were established after we sent out the pre-report notices to the political committees to file the annual report and up to a certain point here. So it captured a substantial number of filings that were for new committees. So that was done. And public financing is still moving along, with everything and how much they've distributed. We're now getting into more the distribution portion of it. And Montgomery County, of course, leads the way with the biggest distributions to date, with Howard County close by as well. And currently, no one has qualified for the State Fair Campaign Finance Fund. There are all the penalties that our enforcement division issued in the last month. In communications, which is our outreach, we wanted to just mention that our voter resource app is now live on Google Play and also on the Apple Store. We've had, I think, over 500 or close to 500 downloads of the app so far. We're really pushing it. It's a great resource tool for voters. I highly recommend it because it puts everything at your fingertips to check your voter registration, to actually register to vote, to find out where your drop boxes are, where your polling place is, where your early voting centers are, frequently asked questions. Everything is then on the app. So it's a great resource, and we highly recommend it. And it was a great job, fantastic job, big collaboration efforts with the universities on that one there to make sure that got through. Basically here we're moving along here in the election management and compliance. We are, of course, always working with correctional facilities to make sure that they're prepared for getting all the voting materials and information so that incarcerated individuals are allowed to vote during this process here if they're pretrial detainees or if they're just there for misdemeanors as well. So we're making sure about that. The biggest one here now is, basically by the next board meeting, to let you guys know, we'll be having ballots out and about. So, ballot drop boxes are going to start delivery on May the 4th, and they'll be completed on May 8th. Uocava voters will be starting to send out ballots to Uocava military and overseas voters starting on May 9th. And domestic voters will be getting their ballots on May 11th. We'll be starting to send out those ballots then. So that's where we are right now. The ballots are up on our website. They've been certified and, being sent off to the printers very soon. Along the lines there, we are, of course, always recruiting election judges. And right now we have over 10,000 election judge been refilled for election day and early voting. So we're right on track right now. But we always keep pushing election judge recruitment. We did a election judge recruitment outreach initiative as well for the first time this year. So it's been quite successful and going well on that. And of course, with voter election judges, we always want to recruit for election pages. These are for 14 and 15-year-olds, and they can get community service credits while helping election judges on those days there. And hopefully that school is out on both the primary and the general. So we hope to get a big portion of pages. And it's interesting to see because some pages. A lot of them come back and become election judges as well. So it's great to have them at that point there. In IT is just, making sure we are moving forward with our security configurations and making sure MD Voters is moving forward there. Mail-in voting, like I said, we are, tracking when we're starting to send out our ballots. And, right now we've also addressed the U.S. Postal Service had made note that some international areas will have service disruptions, and we made sure that those individuals that could be affected by those areas were aware of them, of the printed home ballot option. So they would be, so that they can still be able to vote if they're worried about mail delivery services there. Procurements are ongoing here. As you can see, there was, our recent awards, nothing there. Voter registration, not really a lot of updates moving forward. And finally, at the end here, just I did not exercise any delegated duties. So I submit the state administrator's report for you.
Thank you. As submitted. Members, are there any questions, concerns? Member Butler.
Hi, Jared. Can I have a little more clarification on the keeping peace in the polling places and codifying the watchers and the observers? Can you go through that a little bit more?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of not understanding all of that. Thank you.
So that was a bill. It was House Bill. Oh,
Yeah, I can't remember.
yeah. So it was House Bill 101, and it was so this was a Mayo initiative here, and basically at one point the election judge had the ability to, make sure inside of the, I'm sorry, it's 1001 House Bill 1001, that an election judge for that polling place had the ability to keep order, and that if a police officer or anybody that came in there, they would have to take directions from that election judge. It was increased now to include the election director. They amended it to include the state administrator and the deputy state administrator as well on that. But it was always a law that the election judge had the ability to maintain order inside the polling place, and so now that was expanded to it.
What's the reasoning for that? Do you know?
What was that?
What's the reasoning on that?
That was a Mayo initiative. So they were the ones that wanted to make sure that they had the ability to, I guess, protect election judges and make sure that they understood. They've also have more training in the ability to de-escalate, I would say, conflict, because we do that through our tabletop trainings, and we make sure that we have, we get all those invites for how to de-escalate certain situations as well. And one of the things was that while serving in the polling place, the election director shall protect a challenger and watcher in the exercise of their rights. And the one part was that it was just codifying also the requirement for election for challengers and watchers to submit a copy of their certificate prior to entering a voting room as well.
Mm-hmm. And then one more quick question. That you didn't talk about this. The voters that were taken off the roll, they went to the AG or whatever. There was like 113 or something like that. It was in your report.
The ones for
The non-citizens or voters removed from, is that because they passed away, or where are those numbers coming from?
Let me pull up my report again here.
I don't have all the paperwork with me.
Sorry. Oh, it was the judiciary notices that we received.
Okay, and where is that coming from?
Okay. Those were at the end there. Sorry, the removal for non-citizens. Right, those were from jury duty.
From jury duty. Okay.
Yes.
So, and are we trying to figure out how they got on the rolls to start with? Is that something we're looking at?
That's why we submitted over to the state prosecutor's office.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the appropriate enforcement and investigative body. So we receive jury notices, we then send it over to the state prosecutor. You know, sometimes people do say that they're not citizens just to get out of jury duty. It doesn't. So at that point there, so the state prosecutor's office will be able to determine, and move forward with those cases.
And will they be bringing us suggestions, after when they do this, do they ever come back to us and say, this is where some of this is coming from to help us make sure
No,
we do not? Okay.
basically, this is the process. We've worked with them about the process, and we have an understanding that this is how they want to receive this information. And so at that point there, we tell them, we have information that this person was on our rolls for this, and it's strictly an investigation. And then the state prosecutor can, whether to charge or not to charge is within their jurisdiction.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Jared, to add to that, it seems, Member Butler, correct me, please provide clarification because I want to understand, is it your inquiry to the extent that we are being more responsive going forward as a board, in that does the prosecutor or does the state prosecutor provide an investigatory report back to the state administrator to show its findings, to indicate its findings of fact associated with that investigation, so that we're more aware of the origin of these types of occurrences?
I think that was my question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically,
Would
we
they?
will only know when the state prosecutor charges. It's
Okay.
within their domain.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we give them the
and-
information. We've done our due diligence. We made sure that this is correct, and then we give it over to the state prosecutor. And then if they charge, that's when we are notified.
Oh, when they are charged, we are notified and we actually have the finding of fact based on the charges that have been applied to those individuals.
Do we get that? I don't think we do. Just
The charge is public at that point.
Right.
when charged. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a procedural question.
Member Bryant, you are recognized.
I
Thank you.
apologize. I was looking for my hand-raising device. As it relates to the referral of a file, of a case, of a set of facts to the state prosecutor, as a citizen, I sometimes see the state prosecutor say we neither confirm nor deny an investigation. I know you can't speak for the state prosecutor, but does the state prosecutor acknowledge something that was sent over to it? And more specifically, does the state board publish or acknowledge anything that it refers to the state prosecutor and or anything that might be under investigation in a particular file?
So I can't speak for the state prosecutor, but basically we refer matters or forward matters over to the state prosecutor's office. For example, like these non-citizens here because of jury duty and saying that they were non-citizens, we will refer that over to the state prosecutor's office. We refer over late fee penalties over to the state prosecutor's office. If we receive complaints that are outside of our jurisdiction, but are still needed to be investigated for campaign finance violations, we would forward also those complaints over to the state prosecutor's office. Whether they confirm or deny that is on that agency, and so, but our activity is public and this is what we do on that front.
So we publish, whether expressly or overtly or not, that something has been referred to the state prosecutor.
Yes, our records are public.
Okay. Are the findings of fact public?
That's the
Or-
state prosecutor. We're just forwarding over, for example, like late fees, right? We forward over a list of committees that owe us late fees that have not paid and we sent out a notice to show cause letter to them. and they are now being referred over to the state prosecutor's office, right? Like that's a public record. It's on our website here. But
Okay.
and if we receive a letter from a complainant regarding, I would say, other issues, outside the scope of our legal authority to issue a civil penalty, then they get submitted over to the state prosecutor's office.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Bryant. Thank you very much, State Administrator. If there's nothing further, we will move on to the Assistant Attorney General's report. Dan Corbin.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm here with the AAG report. It is a little bit different this month. And I will say there's one item that is not on the list because it started and ended in between your last meeting and this one. That was a residency challenge out of District 12B in Annapolis. It went to the circuit court, to the Supreme Court, back to the circuit court, and back to the Supreme Court in the span of about 30 days. And has been decided. It has been decided by the Supreme Court. The state board participated to the extent that a court has to order the state board to either keep the candidate on the ballot or take the candidate off the ballot. The state board was not involved in the dispute as to whether the candidate was actually a resident or not, and only advised the court and presented argument to the court about interpretations of the law for how to figure out whether a candidate is a resident or not. But that case is not on the report. It is already over. So I'll start this week, as I always do, with number one, De La Roca v. Lee. Actually, today, there is a very brief update. The Fourth Circuit issued a Rule 34 notice. In other words, the case has been assigned to a panel of 3 judges of the Fourth Circuit. In the coming weeks, that panel will either notify us that there will be an oral argument and we'll get an oral argument date, or they won't, and we will simply await a decision without an oral argument, a decision that gets written by that panel of the Fourth Circuit. Cases 2 and 3 are the related cases. California v. Trump, and I'm going to call that California v. Trump case 1. That relates to the executive order having to do with documentary proof of citizenship and the appeal of a preliminary injunction. The appellate case from that case is now essentially permanently on pause because the trial case is at the summary judgment stage. And the appellate case has had its argument delayed, I believe, until December, essentially for the purpose of letting the trial case finish. Because once the trial case finishes, it moots the appellate case. It makes the appellate case unnecessary to keep going. We will have a final resolution from the trial case when the trial judge grants or denies summary judgment, grants summary judgment either to the plaintiffs or to the defendants. So we're really following closely the trial case at this point. The fourth case on the list, which is also California et al. V. Trump, is a new lawsuit by 24 states against the federal government in relation to the second executive order that was released about a month ago now, having to do with mail-in ballots. The Department of Homeland Security and the United States Postal Service. Maryland joined 23 other states as a plaintiff, suing the president and the officers and cabinet secretaries for DHS and USPS in order to enjoin that executive order as unconstitutional and illegal. The plan for the case and the attorneys leading the litigation have actually been working with the Department of Justice. The plan for the case is to move quickly because everyone on both sides wants a resolution to whether this has to happen or not. And so the parties are working on briefing summary judgment for the court as fast as possible. I believe there's going to be a hearing in early June with hopefully an answer soon thereafter. OAG has already worked, and a special shout out goes to the Deputy State Administrator with SBE staff to draft the declaration, a declaration being sort of the factual material explaining how Maryland elections work and how this case affects Maryland in support of the plaintiff's summary judgment motion. So our work for that case was fast and furious and is for the moment finished, although it may pick up again once we get closer to the summary judgment stage. Case number 5, Bryson v. Moore et al. In that case, I actually don't remember if our last meeting included this or not, so I'll just repeat it out of caution. The Supreme Court of Maryland denied the petition to take that case all the way up to the Supreme Court. It denied it perhaps on the date of the last meeting, and so the case is not going to take a special route to the Supreme Court for an immediate decision. It's going to follow the course of a normal appeal. Right now, the appellants in that case, who are the unaffiliated voters, are writing an appellant's brief for the Appellate Court of Maryland, and it's due on May 5th. Once that brief comes in, OAG will write a brief on behalf of the appellees, the governor, the state administrator, the chairperson of the board, defending the win in the circuit court. And the Appellate Court of Maryland will kind of direct how the case goes thereafter, whether there's an oral argument or whether they'll decide it. So that will proceed as a normal appeal. And we're simply waiting at this point for appellant's brief to move forward. Case number 6, the United States v. DeMarinis. This is the DOJ lawsuit. At this point, again, we're waiting for a ruling from the district court. I will note that approximately 30 of these cases have been filed around the country by the Department of Justice. And as of today, 5 of them have been decided, the latest one in Rhode Island. All 5 have been grants of dismissal, meaning the state wins and DOJ is not allowed to obtain the records of voter registration lists that they've requested. And every time that happens, a notice of that authority, that district court outcome, is filed in our case, letting our judge know what's going on. But we're waiting for a result in that case. There is right now nothing else for the parties to do. And then finally, number 7, Republican National Committee et al. Versus DeMarinis. Any responsive pleading to the amended complaint is due tomorrow. It's up on my screen in draft form now and will be filed on time. After that, the plaintiffs will have until May 9th to oppose any responsive pleading, and we will have about 3 weeks to reply to that opposition. And then again, it will be in the court's hands and we'll wait for a ruling on whether we move forward to a discovery phase or whether the case is over at that point. And that should conclude the Assistant Attorney General's report, unless there are any questions.
Thank you very much. Dan, are there any questions? Diane, if you're talking, you're on mute. I didn't know if you had a question. Just want to make sure.
I think I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, I thought you were talking. Okay, no problem.
Thanks for
Very much.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dan. Moving on to
Item 13.
on the agenda, the Title 13 waiver request. Is that you, Jared, or is Alan with us today?
No, Ebony Allen's
I-
no longer with the agency. So with you now,
Okay.
is, I have submitted for the board approval for Title 13 requests, 27 waiver requests here, which were submitted. If you have any individual questions, Ebony from the Candidacy and Campaign Finance Division is with us here to answer any individual questions. But with that, we just ask for the approval of the state administrator's recommendations on the 27 waiver requests.
Thank you very much.
Quick,
Mr. Vice Chair?
yeah, Jared, just briefly, I know I've asked before. Can you just give us a layman's definition for the public as to what these are?
Sure. These are political committees that had filed their campaign finance report late, had accrued late fees. And there is no extensions that you can grant for extraordinary circumstances. It's kind of like the deadline is the deadline. And if there's any sort of issues with it, the state board has the ability to waive those fees before they go to the state prosecutor for enforcement actions. And we have in the memo here told about what we do for determining whether just cause exists to grant a waiver: an administrative error, say, on the part of the division, lateness due to extenuating circumstances like a physical illness or a death in the family. If it's also their first late report, we usually allow the committee to kind of have a grace one there. Or if it allows the committee to close and contains minimal financial activity, maybe causes undue financial hardship if the liability is the personal responsibility of the officers. And then finally, if they had computer troubles, but we have ways to make sure that that's not we can tell if a person has computer troubles or not on that one there. But those are the kind of the factors in determining it. They're not dispositive in any sort of way. And then we review it and then present it to the board for approval.
Thank you
Who
very
re-
much. Yeah.
Who
member-
reviews it on behalf, Darren? Is that just you or you have staff that?
No, so the candidacy and campaign division reviews it first to see, and they go through it to investigate like whether or not it is out, or they look at especially the computer problems ones there. They make recommendations and then they bring it to me as the state administrator, and then we review each one collectively together, and from there we would make a decision from staff to present to the board.
Thanks, Chair.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Ebony, it's so good to see you back
Me
with
too.
us here at the administration, at the board. We are in great hands, folks, with regards to our campaign finance authority and overview and oversight with her lead. All right, now with that being said, is there a motion to accept the board's recommendations for the Title 13? So moved by Member Butler. Is there a second? Probably seconded by Member Bryant. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. All unanimous, so moved. Now on to Title 14. And Jared, State Administrator, would you please give us an overview of Title 14 as it relates to public awareness? And then we could move, I'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendation.
Sure. So Title 14 is a little bit different. This is for persons doing public business with contracts of $100,000 or more, and if they employ a lobbyist with compensation of $500 or more. Again, the staff reviews. There's a filing that is due twice a year. Again, these filings, are set in stone, and if there is any late fee, if they are late in any sort of fashion, late fees accrue. If there is just cause, they can ask for a waiver. We usually just deal with it with administrative errors or lateness due to, again, physical illness of the filer or death in the family. Or if they had some computer problems, again, we would investigate to make sure that the computer problems are actually true rather than just a person forgetting the deadline in and of itself. We have reviewed these here and present 16 for you for filing for waiver requests for the reasons presented for the board for approval. And again, Ebony is with us here to answer any questions with the filing requests.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair?
Just a legal question. Suppose the board upholds, the penalty. What do these people have any judicial review or appellate review of what we do?
So yes, I mean, it's just like the late fee in and of itself. This is just an administrative way to remove a late fee, but it would go to the state prosecutor's office. They would be able to work with the state prosecutor at that point. And if no deal was reached with the state prosecutor, then we can go and we've had trials before where we've talked about what notices we send out, making sure that the entity is well aware this was the statutory obligations, and yes, they always have judicial recourse.
Thank you.
So the rule of law still exists.
Always does.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate that clarification. All right. With that being said, is there a motion to accept the board's recommendations of Title 14 waiver? So moved by Vice Chair. Is there a second? Probably seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Unanimous consent. Thank you so very much. Appreciate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ebony. All right. And moving on to emergency polling place change, Washington County.
Katie, is this one for,
Lexi, are you on the line?
yes, I was gonna say Lexi.
Hi, I'm here. I can speak to it.
Thank you.
So this was just change had to be made because the Martharantha Brethren Church had a scheduling conflict. So they moved from there to Potomac Heights Elementary School. And that was reviewed to meet all the same standards as the other locations were.
All right,
So
Member
we're
Butler. Thank you, Lexi. Member Butler with a question for you.
Yeah, I looked them up. They're within like 3 miles of each other. I think they did the best they could at this one. Thank you.
Excellent, because that was going to be my question. So thank you very much. Good job. Good effort. All right. With that being said, entertain a motion to accept the changes. So moved by Member Bryant. Is there a second? Properly seconded by the Vice Chair. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Greatly appreciate. Thank you. So moved. Unanimous consent. All right. Now moving on to delegation of duties, risk limiting audit.
Yes, so this is just the state board has to select the precincts for the risk limiting audit. It's the rolling of the dice. It's this dice right here. It's a 10-sided die, and we have to do it so many times. We've tested it here, and basically what I'm asking for is instead of you having to come in on a certain date to roll the dice, that it would be me to roll this die, and on a public live stream, we'll have a nice little presentation for it for the risk limiting audit. So that's kind of the thing. And there was a document that was in the presentation in your packet as well that was a part of it. No, I'm sorry.
Are there any questions
Yeah.
relating to the matter presented before us? All right, hearing none. The chair is open to a motion to accept the delegation of duties to the state administrator for risk limiting audit. So moved by Member Jackson Stanley. Is there a second? Properly seconded by Member Bryant. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. So moved with unanimous consent. Thank you so very much.
So just, yeah, so this is about selecting the contests and making sure, oh, also with this here,
We're
Yes,
on to,
no,
just to be
sorry,
clear,
Mr. Chair.
sorry.
Before we move on, just to make
Okay,
sure.
we're on the same thing.
It's
I just wanted
besides
to make
rolling the
sure.
dice, the ability to select the contest as well. So,
So-
it's just the statewide contest for the risk limiting audit that has to be selected. Correct, Melissa?
Hello. So it would be selection of how many contests that we're going to audit and then and then the random selection of the contest.
Right. Okay, Member Butler. Thank you, Melissa.
Okay, so you're asking two different things. You're asking to roll the dice and do it on TV, and you're also asking us to pick the number that we're going to use for the risk limit audit, the amount.
The number of contests, yes.
Find that in my
And they have to
paper.
be statewide, so yes.
Yeah, I missed that in the paperwork somehow. So okay. All right, so I see what you're asking. All right, thank you.
All right, so now we're moving on per the agenda. That has just been, we voted on the delegation of duties, risk limiting audit, unanimously approved. Now on to state certification of new voting system.
Yes.
That
So,
is on our agenda.
um,
Okay. No,
yes.
1 second. Member
Oh.
Butler, your hand is still raised. I just want to make sure we're good. Okay.
You know,
Jared,
I guess before we move on, I just want to make sure that we had that vote on both those points. So, Chair, if you don't mind, just making sure if we can just that Member Butler had mentioned it was to roll the dice and select the number of contests. And
well, we voted on the document that was submitted and explained. We didn't vote piecemeal. So I do, Member Butler? Yeah. So I think we're good
Okay.
there. We didn't sparse it out. I didn't break it
Good.
up.
Just wanted to make sure. All right.
Yeah, moving on to 12. Mhm.
So the next one here is the certification of the voting system 6.5.0.0. This is the system that was basically for public commentary, and we've evaluated it in a pursuant to our COMAR regulations and its associated hardware for use in the state of Maryland. But it is not the entire suite of 6.5.0.0 system there. It is electionware version 6.5.0.0 and the related software for it with the precinct tabulator, the DS300 precinct tabulator 3.2.0.0, the DS450 central tabulator 4.4.0.0, the DS950 central tabulator 4.4.00, and the Express Vote 3 4.4.0.0. All this met the federal standards. It was basically EAC, which is Election Assistance Commission, certified to the 1.0 standards. That is according to Maryland law, as well as to federal certifications. We had conducted a series of public demonstrations of it. They were held at 3 different locations throughout the state over a 3-day period. And it enabled voters and stakeholders to observe and interact with the system firsthand. We had received a lot of feedback that was all very much positive, which was a part of the packet that was sent to you. At the end here, we recommend the certification of this equipment for use in the state of Maryland. It meets all the necessary technical, operational, and regulatory requirements for it, and it provided the supporting certifications necessary for its use in the state of Maryland. And I just want to say this is different than anything else. Other entities can always ask for their system to be certified for use in the state of Maryland. This is different from the procurement element of it. This is basically saying this equipment has met the statutory and regulatory requirements as defined by the General Assembly for its use in the state. So that is what we're presenting to you and all the necessary documents for it as well. So with that, I recommend that it moves forward with it. I just want to also make note that this system has been also certified, this solution, in at least 7 other states as well. So it's not, it's been used and approved in multiple states.
All right, thank you very much. Member Butler.
Okay, so you're talking about this system being approved for use in Maryland. Okay,
Right.
so I know we've been looking at poll books for like eight years, and we're way overdue on that one. And this has to go to finance first before we do anything, because this is $100 million is a huge expenditure for the taxpayers. And my question here is this system 2.0 ready now, or it's going to be 2.0 ready?
It is being to the EEAC for 2.0, and we have it in the contract in the RFP that it has to be 2.0 certified by 2030.
By 2030. Okay. Is there any particular reason we didn't wait a little longer so that more companies, that were able to, because they were all kind of moving into this 2.0. Is there any
Yes,
reason we didn't put
our
to-
contract ended, Member Butler. So the current lease, we have no more extensions.
Oh, okay.
And so our hands were forced on that one there.
Okay. All right, yeah, because I know we were, we were kind of jumping in at 1.0 and then trying to get to 2.0 and whatever, but if we'd waited longer, but if we can't, okay, we can't.
Exactly. That's why we made it so that the marketplace was at had the greatest number of vendors by doing it, but every vendor had to give us a pathway to
Yep.
2.0, and that pathway is also free of charge.
Okay, good. And then there were comments from different users that tried it. And I, like it jammed on me and some other people wrote it had jammed for them. And it looks like, it sounds like Rui, but I'm not sure who it was, but it was obviously some of the directors went and tried them and they had suggestions. Are we going to look at those and implement as much of that as we can?
Yes. So one of the things is that we're also making sure that with the jamming, it's going to be more of the election judges, and we're going to make sure that they have ample training on this equipment to prevent that.
And if there, and if there's an issue, then ESNS is going to deal with that one. Okay, because there's other questions besides that one that people have brought up. But okay, thank you very much.
I just had a few.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Member Butler. I recognize Member Bryant, hand, and then the Vice Chair to follow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jared, you mentioned that the lease expires on the current voting system. When does that lease expire?
At the end of this year.
So the end of the calendar year?
Yes.
Okay.
And if if there is we have to make sure that we're ready or getting closer to ready for for 27 if needed.
Is there any idea when the potential contractor expects to have 2.0 certification?
That's what the EAC. The EAC they have submitted it and it's with the EAC.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all for now.
I wish I could force their hand. Make it done faster.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Member Bryant. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Chair. Jared, first of all, I want to compliment. I thought your vetting, your staff, very thorough, very thorough, very positive. So I congratulate you on that. A couple of questions. One, we've been told that this new system is going to cost $100 million. In my experience, that's usually a floor, and usually, these projects cost more in the long run. Notwithstanding that, by us certifying it, are we saying that $100 million is okay for this project?
No.
Because I think that isn't that up to the Board of Public Works? In other words,
you're just
by
certifying.
certifying, are we saying $100 million is okay?
No, you're certifying that this equipment, that the staff has tested it and that it meets the statutory requirements for the state of Maryland for its use. That is it.
So who determines how much the taxpayers have to pay for this? Is that the Board of Public Works?
That is a procurement question that we work with the local boards on the necessary amount of equipment, and that goes in front of the Board of Public Works. This process here right now is all it is saying, did this equipment meet the statutory requirements for use in the state of Maryland?
And lastly, why do you need I'm just hypothesizing. Why do you need our certification?
The General Assembly wanted you to certify it, and
even though
you could have delegated it, but I'd rather you not. Think that it's important to have this discussion in public.
Okay. And in other words, without our certification, it doesn't go to the Board of Public Works? Is that fair to say?
Without your certification, it would say that this equipment did not meet the standards, and I think then you would have to explain why it did not meet the standards.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other questions? Member Bryant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought I saw somewhere where the cost of implementing the system was a consideration that the board should make. But does that ring a bell with anybody?
No,
Rick,
one thing the board,
again?
I'm sorry,
I'm-
Member Jackson
I
Stanley?
was just asking him to repeat the statement he was making. I didn't
I
understand.
I wanted to bring color or fill out some of the dialogue between that amongst the vice chair as it relates to price and cost. And I had a recollection somewhere in 9-102 that amongst the considerations was the cost of implementing it. And I didn't want that to fall by the wayside.
No.
I don't think it changes the diligence and the efficacy and the integrity of the process.
Usually cost comes into the selection of a vendor on that front, but this is just on the certification of the equipment. And I apologize, I want to make one thing here about the contract. The contract currently expires on March 31st, 2027. So I just, just wanted to make sure. I apologize, not at the end of this calendar year. I tried to make things not end on calendar years because no one's around January 1st to implement a new one there.
That I don't know. I think it's 9-102E3 that says it's a consideration. It doesn't change the posture, it doesn't change the fact that the procurement is the procurement. It doesn't change the efficiency
Right.
and the diligence of all the work. But something compelled me to
Yes.
refresh my recollection that cost is in the deliberation process, not in the same way that an open bid or procurement would be potentially, but it's not a non-factor according to my limited
Yes.
read of the statute.
Yes, you are correct, member. I'm looking at right now, that, to meeting the standards, that cost of implementing the system is there. But one of the things is that this cost across the board for a 2.0 standard is in the range of other systems. It was not and by the way, the cost in determining whether to purchase or to lease was there was a difference, and that is why there are certain determinations that were made. Again, I just don't want to get into, because some of the stuff is in procurement and we have not finalized the contract in front of the Board of Public Works. So I'm just being a little bit more cautious about that element there.
All right, it sounds like we're discussing procurement, which is would be in closed meeting, in closed session, and also there is a contract in negotiation. And thus we don't want to assert that this certification warrants procurement of those of that equipment or resolution. It does certify that it is a viable product for the state for consideration. Member Butler.
Just one quick question. Jared, have we ever leased equipment before?
Yes, we have.
We have leased it and bought it both, so we
So
know.
our current system was leased.
Okay.
Our current system was leased, and I guess I can talk about the current system. That had a lot of cost overruns for,
The leasing did. Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, any Member Butler? I mean, Member Bryant, sorry. Member Butler.
Yeah.
has hand up still. All right.
I have a quick, as it relates to the prior lease and the cost overruns that that it's helpful to know about. How does the future procurement relate to lease, not lease, and what's the anticipated control on overruns in the context of the prior overruns?
I
You understand the question? I'll
I
ask
do, and I want to say it in a way that again for public session here is that
But
I've
let me
managed
ask the question.
I've
me
managed
ask-
contracts in the past, and I've made sure that we stay on track, on time, and within the costs of the contract. There's always exceptions to that, but I learn lessons and making sure that we keep moving forward. And I am a good steward of the public funds, and I understand what that means.
No, I fully agree with that. Let me ask a more generic question just for the public good and for the benefit of Maryland. So there's the decision made to not lease machines after March 2027 in whatever a new contract might be, and that would be anticipated to succeed the existing contract. What's the thinking about cost in the next iteration as compared to the lessons learned from cost in this current system?
So this one here, we were within budget because we had to propose a budget for it. And one of the things was making sure that there was a pathway to 2.0 certification, and making sure that we had maximum flexibility in order to see if there was, and if we had any special elections in 27 to be ready for that, but at the same time getting ready for 28 and then for 30. So this allowed us to have the maximum flexibility with the maximum number of vendors available in the market share place to bid on it, and create that Maryland at the end of this will still have the most up-to-date and secure system ready for release. And so once the EAC certifies the equipment to 2.0 standards, then which has been submitted, we're ready to make sure that we move forward with that to be implemented in the state of Maryland.
Okay. What I'm thinking is in the existing contract, the contract that expires at or in or after March 2027, that it's a lease. So the state of Maryland pays every week, every month, every 6 months, every quarter, every year, whatever it pays in this concept of a lease. My understanding is going forward, there will be a purchase. Is there some sort of maintenance and servicing and upkeep component to that?
Oh,
And
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and we expect for that to save money. The question would be, how does that save money compared to our prior experience or the existing experience?
I think that this is a part of the procurement elements here and the deliberations. Let me just say, again, for public, the decision to make here was to ensure that Maryland received the best product at a reasonable and correct price without, making sure that we have any cost overruns, and that the system that we're purchasing correctly now will have operations and maintenance for its lifetime for this entire contract. And at the end here, the equipment that is up for certification here meets the standards for the federal standards as well as for the state standards. And it is moving forward to meet the most current standards at the federal level at 2.0. It's in the process. So we have a pathway, and we believe that this is the correct solution, and that's why we recommend certification of the equipment.
So, Jared, just to be clear, and sorry, Member Bryant, this board is not sitting as the procuring entity at this time. This
is nothing about the procurement of the system. This is about
I just needed to be
certification,
clear.
right? Yes,
Thank you.
it's one and the same. It is the system that we would be procuring later on, but this certification is not saying it still has to go through that process and goes in front of the Board of Public Works.
We're not binding the state to
Right.
$100 million. All right. Member Bryant, Member Ballard,
yeah.
to you, it looks like Member Bryant still has.
No, I don't have. I will yield to Member Butler, but just to revisit or reiterate, Mr. Chairman, the concept of cost of implementing the system is something that is referenced in the statute. And with the board certifying the effort, my limited understanding is the next step would be the Board of Public Works. So I think there's some duty to, vet through every aspect of the statutory delegation or the statutory direction as we move through this process.
Correct, but this certification does not obligate the state and the citizen dollars.
Let me just say this to member Bryant, concern there. Yes, when we go in front of the Board of Public Works, at that point there, we will also be able to have to publicly justify the cost and why we're spending this amount of money and why this equipment ranked, where it ranked technically, where the financial proposals were, and to address your concerns about the cost of the system here. This system was within reason, within our budget that we had proposed. And one of the things that you were not necessarily present for in the earlier meetings was when we had the advocate for the entire, I would say, the trade association for the voting equipment system there, talking about how going to 2.0 standards, the contracts that you currently have, we're going to increase by at least 50% or more. And we were prepared for that additional costs and made sure that the counties were aware of potential costs that come in. So that's kind of throughout the process here, we were very cognizant of the cost element and how much it might increase. And with this, we were within our budget, so we feel that we are justified in moving forward with it as an element that met the certification requirements.
Absolutely. And that, just for the record, I wasn't a member of the board during those.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's why I was like, right,
Yeah.
you missed those ones there. We had those, your predecessor who did a fantastic job with the budget recently, he was present at that. So yes.
Okay. And then again, my deliberation and consideration is I'd rather have these conversations and discussions now, one, as a function of the statutory mandate, but two, so that this isn't the first time these things arise when it goes before the treasurer, comptroller, and governor at the Board of Public Works. Because I would imagine one of those three, if not three of those three, would look back and say, well, what did they do about having any sense of this dialogue? Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Member Butler.
Just one, it's kind of an odd question. So we're moving up to the 2.0. How fast are these machines changing and the computer systems changing that we would end up having to go to 3.0? Is this going to last us a long time? I don't have the technical know-how to read all those all those paid. I read them, but it doesn't tell me. Are we going to be able to keep up? I guess is my question.
Oh, yes. Let me just say this. I think 1.0 came out over 10 plus years ago. These are the federal standards. So they don't, I think they want to start doing little tiny mini ones. They want to go like to 2.1. But the outside of that, it jumping from 1.0 to 2.0 was about probably 10 to 15 years. And I expect the same sort of 2.0 to 3.0 jump would be in the same type of frame here. Because the other part too is we're all buying equipment and it takes a long time for the certification and getting the manufacturers going through it and making sure that it's there. So yes, this is something that will last us a very long time. And we'll be flexible with it as we move forward with it to see about it moving if there is other changes to making sure that it's federally compliant at all times.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
And Jared, thank you, Member Butler. And Jared, based on the point you brought up about moving to 2.0, it would be free?
That's what we made sure about that in our RFP.
Okay,
So
so it
that,
would
so that
not,
if you proposed a 1.0 solution, you had to give us a pathway to 2.0 included in that solution,
and so
in
that,
your cost proposal. So at the end here, you could not just say, we're giving you old outdated equipment, and then when we wanted to go to 2.0, oh, this is how much the modifications were occurring. No, we made sure that it was included and that they had to include that in the cost proposals.
and could that have been a significant cost overrun?
Well, it's
If it
something
was
that,
not free?
I guess the thing is, I hopefully I'll never know because I put it in the RFP. We put it, we have a great team to make sure about that, and great deliberations. So yes.
All right, thank you.
And Dan's ready to be there, right there to enforce the contract for us.
Awesome. All right, Member Bryant.
Thank you so much for the diligence and patience, Jared. There was an Iowa State University study or evaluation or report. It looks like the proposed system scored above average and got high marks in that report and in that analysis. In addition, there were summaries of the demonstration that took place, the demonstrations, plural, that took place across the state of Maryland at some point in the last 30 to 45 days. I know we've all participated and monitored at least one, if not many, meaning the board members and of course your staff. Can you shed light or have someone shed light on both the Iowa State or the Iowa University report and usability and those marks, as well as the dashboard that was provided in the performance or demonstrations?
So the dashboard that was provided was about the public demonstrations, and we had at every one of those locations a QR code, which gave everyone the ability to submit public comments to us. I don't know what just happened there. Sorry. My computer just kind of froze there for a second. But so that was kind of, and overall, we had a lot of positive feedback, and it's the exact same, almost all the voters felt it was the same sort of voting experience for them. Most notably on the ballot marking device, which is something that was always a concern for multiple candidates, not necessarily like if it was you, the candidate, as being Eric Bryant, or Jared Demarinis, because when we do in the primary, it goes alphabetical. And so a lot of candidates, because there was on the current ballot marking devices, it was limited on the number of candidates that were able to be on a screen, that now that we can have 3 columns, that everyone would appear on the same screen, and the candidates were ecstatic about that improvement with the ballot marking device. We also made sure to reach out for public demonstration. We made a special outreach to the disability communities to make sure that they were aware of when the testing, where the public demonstrations were, and making sure that they had access to that. We put one in Baltimore specifically because the National Federation of the Blind is located in Baltimore, so that they had the ability to go there in a area there. The equipment that it was used for the ballot marking device met the certification levels for 1.0, and ES&S and the equipment itself right now will have to meet to the 2.0 standards for all the enhancements. Additionally, for the department, we had the Maryland Department of Disabilities come in and test the ballot marking device, and their findings were aligned to the 2.0 standards, and we're already in communications with the vendor to make sure that the configurable screens for on how to operate meet with some of the finding requirements, and that the 2.0 standards will be applicable to all what their findings were about. So basically right now it meets the accessibility standards as defined in 1.0, and it will be meeting all the standards for 2.0 as well. And we're making sure that any of the recommendations on usage to make sure it's clear for individuals that require headphones or having to use the pad in order to vote, that is that all the elements from the findings from the Department of Disabilities were included in those instructions.
Absolutely. Is there anyone that could talk about the dashboard document that was in the materials?
I guess, I mean, we have, that's us here. I mean, it was like basically all those dashboards. I mean, it was a team effort to put that dashboard together. The voting system team did a fantastic job there to kind of, basically correlate and, consolidate all those reports into into an easy to read dashboard. And, again, like you can see, one of the things that we did with the dashboard, by the way, which was great, which was on the public questions. We just didn't want to have a person go, yes, 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 or like, this was great, this was great, this is great. We actually made some of the questions so that it was, like a negative. So, you would have to vote, you would have said one for that one to create a double negative, so that a person had to read it so that we understood that, oh, this person is actually taking the time to read the questions here and not necessarily just go through it and just hit like yes, 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 yes across the board there. So that's kind of what the dashboard is, and it was just basically all the comments from the public, the 3 days of public demonstrations.
Okay. I read it and I thought it looked good. It I thought it'd be helpful for the general public here and for the record to go over it in a presentation. But if you don't want to do that,
I mean, I guess
that's
I didn't.
fine.
I didn't know what you meant by like. I was just like, oh, what it meant and stuff like that. I mean,
What I'm
basically,
trying what I'm trying to do is get enough on the record to justify a certification.
sure. It's already out there, so I mean, we can make sure. But it was, you know, the dashboard itself included all the public comments, and that whether the touchscreen was easy to use, whether uh, whether using the ballot was, easy to see. And so the ballot marking device was about, so it was kind of funny. Was the ballot marking device hard to navigate? Was the ballot marking device easy to use? So we had those questions there so that we can, if a person said strongly agree to both, then we know that they weren't really paying attention. And we saw that play out in the results there, where the ballot marking device was hard to navigate. It was a high majority that said no, they strongly or disagree with that statement. And when we had was the ballot marking device easy to use, we saw it was, all agree or strongly agree. So I think that that's kind of where we were, and they compiled it all on that front there. We're happy to release the dashboard results on our website as well for that. I know that they were a part of the public materials now.
I yield, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you very much, Member Bryant. I think Member Bryant also mentioned the Iowa University test report. That test, I think, was that dated 2022, 2021? I can't remember exactly. I don't have it in front of me, but I think its outcome was that you had a 76 approval rating, which is beyond the national approval rating of 68%. So I think per that particular test report, and complementing the Maryland's test report, with regards to user satisfaction. But I think Member Brian was asking for someone to give a general overview of the Iowa test, Iowa University test report, if that was possible.
Well, I guess, I mean,
I know we all read it. We all have the material. It is public material. But I just wanted to clarify, Member Brian, did you include that in your inquiry?
I did, and
Okay.
I did. And to your point, Mr. Chairman, I think the industry average is about 68. The system that was reviewed by Iowa was I think 85. Give me 1 second so I can get the exact numbers. So 85% tasks completed for express vote, with the average voter satisfaction rating was 76, and that satisfaction rating was higher than the industry average. So it seems like it performed splendidly. It seemed like the demonstrations were very well received. I know the people I saw interacting with those machines during the demonstration period in Maryland had favorable responses and replies. And I want to make sure we have a robust dialogue about it for the benefit of the public and for the benefit of the state of Maryland and for the benefit of all interested parties.
So thank you. It also sounds like that the two reports that we have, the Iowa University report, is commensurate with the outcomes of the Maryland test report, most recently provided.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Based on your understanding, your read of those materials.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much for that. That opportunity for dialogue. And with that being said, folks, any other questions, concerns related to item for state certification of our new voting system? Hearing none, the chair is open for a motion to accept for certification. So moved by the vice chair. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Properly seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Thank you. So moved. Unanimous consent. Thank you very much. And now on to discussion regarding ballot acceptance per the agenda for the 2026 primary and general. I think this is brought to us by our vice chair for a robust discussion along these lines on this topic. And I will cede the floor, yield the floor to the vice chair.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've been working diligently, all of us, I know, putting our heads together. As we know, postmarks now are not something that we really can rely on. You know, under the existing procedures, mail-in ballots postmarked by Election Day, received by the second Friday after Election Day, are to be counted. We now know that the post office does not postmark mail when it's first entered into the mail stream. They postmark mail when they process it, whatever that means. My major concern, and it bothers me deeply, is what can we do to make sure that our military men and women, warriors out there protecting us and dying for it, to make sure that our military men and women and our overseas citizens, also known to me as our brothers and sisters, they're fleeing Israel. Like I heard, over 10,000 Americans have fled Israel. They're fleeing Oman, UAE, Lebanon. You know, my concern is that our mail-in ballots to overseas voters and to the military may not even get there. You know, these people fleeing with their children, fleeing for their lives. They don't even know where they're going, let alone how we're going to get a ballot to them. So I was talking to Jared at length, and he's been a big supporter of trying to make sure that my concerns and all our concerns are met. Because to me, there's nothing more serious and sacred than a military ballot. Thank you, Post Office. Thank you, Mr. Post Office, for making it harder to count military and overseas ballots. That really upsets me. We are at war, and we have to do what we can to make sure that all these people and our mail-in ballots here are protected. Now, people here and in the United States, in Maryland, they have drop boxes. In the United States, when you mail a ballot, you can have it postmarked. So they have avenues of alternatives. So my questions are, before the legislature just codified COMAR, which was our procedure, we were considering affidavits by these military, by all mail-in ballots, an affidavit that they mailed their ballot prior to the date of the election, you know. But Jared, if you can explain it, you had informed me recently, and I came to a grinding halt in our efforts. The state legislature has made a statute basically of what COMAR said.
That is correct, Vice Chair. So a Senate
So,
bill.
so what is it now? What is our statute? What are we by law to do?
So Senate Bill 949 codified basically our COMAR provision. So it's now a new so election law article 9-310.1 says that an absentee ballot for public communications, a mail-in ballot is considered timely and to be counted if, and then it talks about received and everything else, but then this is where it comes for you, which was that if it's received by mail at a local board office no later than 10 a.m. on the second Friday after an election and was mailed on or before Election Day, as verified by a postmark, or if the return envelope does not contain a postmark or the postmark is illegible, by the voter's affidavit that the ballot was mailed on or before Election Day. So basically, the postmark is now been codified as the standard for proof of mailing on or before Election Day. But if the envelope does not have a postmark or if it's illegible, then the voter's affidavit that the ballot was mailed on or before Election Day would suffice. But this changed a little bit of everything, because what you were proposing before was maybe changing that regulation about as verified by a postmark. Now it's been codified to that the postmark is the first standard for verification that the ballot was mailed on or before Election Day.
Are we going to be using affidavits, putting affidavits in our ballots, mail-in ballots?
We will be looking at it because the postmark is now codified. The rule, we will probably try to change maybe some of the affidavit itself to include it. But with military and overseas voters, it's very specific language, and Melissa can speak to that specific language because it's codified, I believe, under the UOCAVA law. What has to be said for those military and overseas ballots for mail-in ballots. Melissa, are you on the line?
I am. I think that for overseas ballots, we'll need to move into something for the general. That's what we're kind of wrapping our head around now as we prepare for it. Our ballots are already being printed for the primary. So the domestic ballots, what Jared is speaking to, our oath already includes this. So when they sign the oath, they sign this affidavit. we'll need to include a different affidavit for the UACABA voters because they have to swear to the UACABA oath. Not a heavy lift. It's just something that we need some time to prepare for with our vendor and make sure that it's a capability that they have. I think there will be ways of us getting an affidavit ready that we can use for the primary. We just won't be able to send it out in the ballot packet, I think is probably the shortest answer for you, but it is definitely on the radar.
Jared, let me ask you this. I was with
Yep.
Montgomery County, and I know Diane was with Howard County. How much discretion do the local boards have? My concern is a man or a woman in a submarine or on an aircraft carrier or fighting, flying a fighter jet or a bomber. They put their ballot, if they even get it, in probably a mail bag at their work location. Who knows when it's going to be postmarked or where? In other words, if a postmark is on there, but it's a postmark from like a universal command post, like if it's from Stuttgart, Germany, or Okinawa, Japan, in other words, a major central command type place, does a local board have the authority to say, well, if it's postmarked in Stuttgart, Germany, and this warrior is on the USS Ford, can they assume that the postmark that it was mailed before the postmark? In other words, how much
So
discretion do we have? You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
So, yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. And I actually just read that part of the law. And all it says is postmark. It doesn't require that it be a USPS postmark. And Jared, catch me if I'm wrong. But it does just say that it needs to be postmark. It is not specific to the USPS.
Oh,
It's
does
It's
it?
actually
actually-
like, what was that?
I think that in the regulations, they do talk about like Army postmarks and allowing other postmarks that are
Correct. So
certified.
it says something about like a universal carrier or something like that in the regs. All of it would be broad enough to include any postmark.
Jared, let me ask you this, if you can answer it.
Yeah.
If a local board gets a postmarked ballot overseas, do they have the discretion to say, we still find that it was mailed prior to that postmark? Based on the circumstance where it was postmarked, where they're assigned? I mean, these men and women are fighting a war. And you think they're thinking about postmarks? Unbelievable.
I understand that, right? So yes, I
Unbelievable.
think Melissa said it correctly, right? Like we use as long as there, and like I believe that there was parts about like U.S. military postmarks are on there. So yes, as long as there's some sort of postmark, or if there is no postmark, then we will use the affidavit. But the postmark is just kind of that the voter put it into the mail system at that point, and I believe yes, there is discretion as to making sure that it's not necessarily just the USPS's postmark on it.
Okay, and
And
I
the one
appreciate
thing was,
that.
I just wanted to say, in the administrator's report, we did reach out to a lot of the individuals in those affected areas themselves to talk about, making sure that they receive their ballot, especially the overseas voters in some of those areas of conflict, to see how they want to receive their ballot, to give them maximum time to return it back to us.
That's
Yeah,
great.
because, a military ballot.
Vice Chair, I really appreciate you bringing this forward for the general body for discussion. One of your member colleagues has their hand up. I wanted you to, do you want to allow them time, or you want to
Sure.
have this dialogue with Jared?
No, sure.
Okay. Member Butler?
Unfortunately, we can't always rely on attestation either. I mean, this is what's happening with why the list has a problem, because attestation, you can have a late voter and he's just going to say, oh, I'm going to put yesterday's date on it and drop it in the mail. So we have to be careful. I think Military ballots are one thing. Ballots here, we have 7 ways from Sunday for people to get them. We have drop boxes, we have the mail, you can take it in there, you can go in and vote early, you can vote late. I'm not too worried about the people here in the United States. They can get it done. The military ballots, it's my understanding that that the ballot pouches, with the ballots in them, it's a high standard for them. So the only thing I don't know is the Army postmark them when they get them all in their pouch, and then they send the whole pouch off to us. I think they probably do, but that's the only question that I would have, is if they do that. Because yes, I do believe the military should do this, but I do understand that they do prioritize that for the servicemen to vote. And that one I can see the attestation thing in there, especially if they're coming in pouches like that. But we have to be very careful just saying, oh, now you can just say, oh, I mailed it in time, because unfortunately, people, you just can't trust everybody anymore. And we can't just now start saying, oh, now it's okay. Just, 3 weeks later, you could change an election after that. You could literally change a close election by saying, oh, here's, 100 more ballots, zip, whatever, after the fact, the people didn't bother to vote and say, oh, let me go change my mind. So we need to be very careful how we do this also. So the attestation thing, Melissa, you and I can chat later about that, on how we're going to implement that to make sure that we're not making a bigger problem than we already have. But I do respect all of our servicemen. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Member Butler. With that, to add to the conversation, I really appreciate this dialogue and deliberation over this matter, especially as it relates to absentee ballots associated with our military abroad, personnel abroad, our families, our members. To your point, Vice Chair, does this allow for us to be innovative? I'll put it out there. I know we're a little skittish over pen and paper as we're moving towards this electronic voting format with the polls, but it's just, are we getting to a point where to provide our military personnel with flexibility as they see fit and as they need it during situations like this? Are we tipping over into the idea of allowing for electronic voting abroad? Are we tipping into, with these apps that we now have and 2-level authentication, fingerprint authentication, are we tipping over to allowing military personnel to vote electronically via their phone, via electronic apparatuses that are secured in their bivouac, where they are? Are we moving to that as a part of being responsive to the Vice Chair's robust presentation along these lines when they're in war-torn, dire situations? I'm just posing. I'm just positing
I guess
this.
if you want, I can answer that. Those questions are 100% in the realm of the General Assembly. We have no authority to implement, nor will we implement, like internet voting or electronic return of a ballot. So I just want to make sure, because as we move forward, and that was one of the parts of Senate Bill 949, was that when we do web delivery, it is the delivery of it, but you're still printing the ballot at your house or in your office or anywhere, that you have to print and mail back a physical ballot to us. There is no electronic delivery back to us. Mail-in ballots are basically, we either mail you the ballot, or we'll do a print at home ballot to you through email, but you're sending back a physical ballot back to us. There is no electronic delivery. That is a discussion for the General Assembly, and and other security issues with that.
Yeah, I'm not posing that that's something we could do as a state board of election. It's just for the sake of conversation per the vice chair's valiant effort at seeking a solution for our military personnel when it comes to casting their vote, ensuring that their vote is accounted for on time based on our postmark requirement. Or that's all that was. It's just open discussion. It is not to elicit the authority of my membership here to create a regulation beyond our authority. No, it's just for conversation and adding innovative concepts to the discussion. Because as it stands right now, it would be great to get a report from our military colleague or military attaché as to how this is conducted. If they are willing to share in working with us how they work with the state board and assuring delivery of our ballots to rank and file and coming back. It's just for them to give us a report if they're willing to, if we're able to reach out to them and get a report of their process and procedure to become more informed about that process that is for public consumption. That would be great if we can have a more robust dialogue along the lines of what that would look like for us going forward. If I could submit that request, Vice Chair, what do you think about that pursuant?
Oh, no,
to at least
that's an
getting
excellent.
a report.
No,
I don't know
excellent.
from whom you're wanting a report from on this one here. I mean, I can say this here, we're reaching out to the Postal Service to talk about, making sure that they're aware of postal issues and, working with the Postal Service on that. But this is we can't direct another federal government to provide a report to us on that one. So, I think that I just wanted to weigh in on this here because I don't know, we deal with agencies to help military and overseas voters on this front. And
What agencies do we work with? Can we request information from those agencies we work with?
we deliver these ballots to our UOCAVA voters and
Yes.
we do rate of return. We make sure that they are aware of the issues that are present in our communications with those voters. We've reached out to the ones that are basically in areas that the Postal Service has already said that there might be a disruption in service here. So we are going forward and we are doing our due diligence to make sure that these voters in these affected areas have ample knowledge on moving, on how to vote and submitting it timely.
Excellent. I guess what I'm
I
requesting.
think that's where I want to,
Yeah, I guess what I'm requesting is a report out on those facts. Okay? And that's either from you or Jennifer or Melissa to coordinate that return of information for us to have a more fair, equitable understanding of the process for a future conversation around it. So whomever you want to delegate that responsibility
I guess the thing
to.
is, again, right, I can give you the stats. It's we can work with, we'll get you some stats with the federal, I think, voter assistance program, which deals with moving forward with that. And we can give you the stats of how many people are affected by this.
That would be great to start.
Okay.
And we may find that there are more entities out there that we can request information from. But I at least appreciate the start on drilling down the significance of this cause. I appreciate it. Cause of inquiry, and that's brought to us by the Vice Chair. Thank you. Is there any other questions, concerns that people would like to bring up regards to this matter? All right. Hearing none, we will wait on that report. Jared, is there
Again,
to pull
I
this?
guess it's not going to be a report. It's just going to be numbers.
I
Like, so I
get
just
you.
want to clarify
I
here,
understand you don't.
like
I
you keep
understand you don't.
saying this word here.
I
like,
understand you don't like
and
the
again,
term.
there's going to be no internet voting, no none of
I
that stuff here.
understand.
So
Yeah,
like, I just
that's
want
not what I'm
to
asking
like,
for.
right.
I'm not asking for that. I am asking, I know you don't like the word report, but you can give us do you have a timeline on when you can get us the
We'll
data?
get you information regarding this. So yeah.
Do we have a time by next month or
We'll
3 months
gather
from
the
now?
information. I'll be in touch with you and the vice chair. We'll work on making sure that you have the correct numbers here, because we are reaching out and talking to the individuals in the affected areas here.
Okay,
So yes.
great. Thank you very much for that. So are there any further comments? Just want to make sure before we move on. All right. There doesn't look, thank you all very much for that. I appreciate the exchange and the openness that you guys provided me with your attention. Now, with regards to new business, there's none indicated on the agenda at this time, and none for old business. All right, Member Bryant, thank you very much. Your question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My old business goes back maybe an hour and 20 minutes. It relates to the Attorney General's report. I would ask if the Assistant Attorney General is amenable that the Assistant Attorney General's report on the District 12B litigation be treated as a supplement in the minutes to his written report. I just think it's a big deal that the court told the agency, I guess, to strike a name from the ballot. And I don't, I'd like for the record to formally reflect that. And if that oral report could be treated as a supplement to the written report formally in the minutes, that'd be my request. Any objections, Mr. Corbin?
None whatsoever. No.
All right. Now, I do have a substantive question on that. Which court told the agency to strike the name from the ballot? The trial court or the appellate court?
The circuit court, so the trial court ordered that. That was the circuit court's ruling, which was affirmed by the Supreme Court.
Okay. Okay. So the affirmation means that the circuit court ruling is ratified.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. That was it, Mr. Chairman.
course.
Thank you, Mr. Coburn.
Thank you. All right. Now, board members, we have two speakers to provide public comment today. So who do we have first, Jared, on the agenda for public address?
Is Susan or is it Jody McShane? Jolie McShane is the one.
Is our first one?
Yes.
All right, excellent. And they have submitted their written,
Yes.
all right, testimony. All right, Jolie, we see you there. All right. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm here today because a growing number of local boards of elections are designating video recordings as their official minutes. I want to be very clear. This is not a transparency improvement. It is creating a serious accessibility and usability failure in the official public record. Quoting from a Howard County Board of Elections March 23rd meeting, quoting, "And Jim, January 29th, you know you do have me. I do not know them, but I don't. Yeah, I did. Well, then above coin, because I clearly didn't see to be now. What's the purpose if you want to compare? And now we do have a guest, and I'd ask, are you representing? Yes, before we get there and we put what we talked about as far as the closing during January training medication on the okay, as opposed to waiting until. This is not edited. This is what a deaf citizen receives as the official record of government proceedings. Quite frankly, I could not understand what was being said either. This is not accessible, and under federal law, it must be. Under Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, communication with individuals with disabilities must be as effective as communication with others. An official record must be clear, searchable, and reliable. Citizens should not have to scrub through hours of footage to interpret garbled captions and conversations, or guess what actions were taken. The burden of transparency belongs to the board, not the public. As the State Board of Elections, you have the authority and responsibility to ensure consistency across counties. I am asking the board to establish clear guidance that requires written minutes as the official record. Otherwise, ADA standards, a human-reviewed transcript, must be provided alongside video recordings. If a citizen cannot understand the official record, then transparency has failed. And right now, in too many cases, that is exactly what is happening. I urge this board to address this issue before it becomes a broader ADA compliance problem across the state. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. McShane. Ms. McShane. We greatly appreciate your sentiments, your comments, and your testimony today. And your written testimony as well. Concern is extremely viable and valuable for our awareness and understanding. And so thank you for your due diligence with regards to your responsibilities as a voting citizen, which is very, very significant. So thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
With that, we have it in the minutes. We have it as part of the record. We'll look into those sentiments as we move forward. The administration values your input, and thank you for your insight.
Thank you.
Now, are there any questions, comments in respect of the information just shared? Thank you very much, Member Butler.
I want to thank you, Jolie, for coming and speaking with us. We have heard this from other places also, so I thank you very much for bringing it to the board directly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, hearing none, we do have another speaker. Thank you so very, very much, Jolie. All right. And now we have with us is it Peter?
No, Susan.
Susan? Oh, okay.
Susan.
That was the other
Susan.
written. Susan
Greenmouth.
Greenmouth. Hello, Susan.
Hello, sorry, it took a second
It's
to
okay.
join.
That was great. We have you with us. You have our attention. Thank you so very much for being here and presenting to the board.
Thank you, Chair Summers and members of the board. I am the Senior Advisor on Election Security for Free Speech for People. We're a nonpartisan, nonprofit legal advocacy organization committed to protecting democracy and elections for all people. I have researched and studied voting systems and their certification and advocated for secure, accessible voting equipment for over 20 years. I'm offering remarks on behalf of Free Speech for People and our allies at Public Citizen and Common Cause Maryland. We would have recommended not to vote to certify this system because there are better options that are available for Maryland. First, the proposed system will entrench the use of ballot marking devices or BMDs that record votes in barcodes for tabulation. This is a method that is controversial and unpopular, and as a result, states are moving away from using them. Colorado's Secretary of State banned them in 2019. Georgia's legislature has also banned them. Now vacated presidential executive order sought to ban them last year, and Common Cause New York and the Black Institute are currently suing the New York State Board of Elections for certifying their systems that use barcodes. The Technical Guidelines Development Committee, which advises the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, or the EAC, on the federal voting system standards, is currently working on a new draft of the standards, that 2.1 that Director Demeritus mentioned, that would ban them. So certifying the system is akin to adopting a Betamax video recorders at a time when everyone is moving forward to DVDs or streamers. More importantly, the disability rights community has long raised concerns that the accessible express vote ballot marking devices used in Maryland now and that will be used in the new system can compromise voter privacy because the paper ballot summary cards look different than the hand-marked paper ballots. Multiple vendors, including ES&S, now offer alternative accessible ballot marking devices that do not rely on barcodes and that will print a full-face paper ballot that looks just like the hand-marked paper ballots, preserving all voters' privacy. But the system that was certified relies on the express votes that print an atypical ballot and will perpetuate this privacy issue. Third, as noted, this system is only certified to VVSG 1.0, which was adopted over 20 years ago. Yes, in 2005, it was over 20 years ago. There are systems that are currently available that are presently certified to 2.0. You wouldn't have to wait until they're certified. Maryland would be better served to purchase something that meets 2.0 now or sooner rather than waiting a few years. And finally, I just want to stress the extraordinarily high price tag that's been floated because it is out of line with what we see other states paying. And I was trying to figure out why it would cost so much for this system. But I think I understand and got the question answered in the discussion because this RFP will include the upgrade to 2.0. So Maryland is in essence paying for both a 1.0 system and then the upgrade to 2.0. And I say this because when we look at other states that do make top-down purchases like Georgia or South Carolina, then the price that Maryland would be paying for this system, which is supposed to be based on hand-marked paper ballots, is far more than what we see these other states paying for their all ballot marking device systems. I can go into more details if you want, but I see I'm running out of time. So I'm going to wrap there and say if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Please to feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions by email or by phone.
Thank you, Suzanne. We greatly appreciate your presence here. We also greatly appreciate your testimony in writing and your information, your contact information. So many of the members here are engaged and looking into this, so they may be in contact with you directly, but I will open the floor up if necessary, if they feel compelled to. Member Butler, and then Vice Chair.
I was struggling to hear her. You said they were moving to what? The systems were moving to what? I didn't hear the two words.
Moving away from the barcodes, is that the section, or moving towards the VVSG 2.0, the newer voting system standards? It could have been either of those things, or the full face ballot.
Okay,
yeah, sorry.
The DGS, say that portion again.
It's called the VVSG, which stands for Voluntary Voting System Guidelines. And that's the standards, the federal standards that are created by the U.S. Election Assistance Commission. There are a version that was created in 2005, that's 1.0. And then there's a newer version created in 2021 or adopted in 2021 called 2.0. And the system that was just certified meets the 1.0 standards from 2005. And our concern is that why buy something from 2000 certified to 2005 when there are other options on the market, and more will be coming on the market too, because there's several that are in the pipeline for certification right now. And that's why it seems that the price is so high in Maryland.
There's options on the market now that are at 2.0?
Yes. There's two systems that are on the market. And I think there's a half a dozen that are currently under test. So they should be certified within the next year or so.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Butler. Vice Chair?
Susan, thank you for your participation. You're very informative. Let me ask you, in layman's terms, what are the what is your critique about the use of barcodes? What are the defects with barcodes, and what would replace that type of technology?
So one of there's a couple of different concerns with barcode. The main one is that the vote that is that's recorded and tabulated, that's tabulated by the machines and the scanners, is derived from the barcode, which the voter can't read. That's the crux of the lawsuit that Common Cause has raised in New York State, because New York State law says the voter must have the opportunity to verify their vote before they cast it. And that language is actually mirrors language that's in the Help America Vote Act. So there's a federal statute that requires you also be able to verify your vote before you cast it, which could be problematic because the barcodes, you can't. There's text alongside of it. And there have been instances where the text does not match what's in the barcode. That can be caused by some sort of programming error or potentially malicious manipulation. So the idea of having two different choices there, even if the person can read the text, if the barcode doesn't reflect what they voted, they could be disenfranchised and lose their vote. And that has happened. There have been instances where we have seen in a case in Pennsylvania, and actually a couple cases in Pennsylvania, and then also in Georgia. They don't use barcodes in Georgia, they use QR codes, but there have been instances where the QR code does not match the human readable text. So while the idea is that an audit could correct it, you still are counting from that. There's another legal problem that I attended a seminar with a legal professor, or a presentation last year with a legal professor, and she's actually holding another one in San Francisco in a few weeks that I'm going to be attending, analyzing a legal conundrum with the barcodes that has not been challenged. It's not the crux of the Common Cause lawsuit, but it's that you have two different votes recorded on the ballot, and there should be a determination of what is the official vote. Which one is the official vote? Is it the barcode? Is it the human readable text? And then you get into a pickle, because if it's the barcode, then you're saying, well, you really can't verify your vote because you can't read that barcode. And what's officially your voice, what is officially your vote, is in that barcode. And it's not the human readable text. If you say, okay, we're going to make it the human readable text because that makes more sense, the person can read it. Now you're counting the votes on the machines that become the official tally and that gets certified in the results off of something that is not the official vote. And then you can invite some lawsuits there. So there is this problem of having the two different records on the ballot card, one being the barcode and one being the human readable text, and which is officially the official vote of record. And when you determine one or the other, you have another problem that it introduces. You can't choose one or the other without creating a problem. So the alternative is to have accessible ballot marking devices that provide all the accessibility features, the audio files with the headphones, the tactile interfaces, sip and puff, etc. And then that prints out a paper ballot that will look like the same ballot that I might fill out with a pen. And then that gets put in the same scanner. And then there's no differentiation between who's using what type of voting method. So you don't have any privacy issues. And so that is where people are moving to. That's the preference. And
I
so
appreciate it. Thank you, Susan. I know you went a little beyond the question. I appreciate it, though.
I'm sorry, I didn't think I
it's
was going
okay.
out beyond the question.
Well, it's fine. With regards to the vice chair's concerns, we do have a follow-up or follow-on, but didn't want to get into marketing for other purposes. Vice Chair, do you have a follow-up question or?
I was very impressed with the presentation. I just
Yeah.
wanted to know what wouldn't an audit, a selective audit, or whatever kind of audit we dictated to resolve or to finalize or to give us confidence that the barcode.
So
Is
I want to, Vice Chair, can I answer that question for that
Sure.
one? So
Thank
yeah,
you.
I guess
would like-
one, no.
Thank you, Susan, but State Administrator has floor.
But so basically right now we are procuring 1.0 standards, but we are getting a free upgrade to 2.0, and the 2.0 system will not have a barcode available on the software update. So that is moving forward with it and making sure about it. Additionally, yes, we do audit all our ballots. So if there's any sort of issues with it, it will be picked up in the audit. The voter, of course, views this information multiple times before putting it in the scanner. One, you view it on the screen to make sure that all your cast ballots are correct. Even when you print out the machine on the equipment there, you get to see it there, and then it will go into the scanner. There's always at that point there again, we have two types of audits. We do the automated software audit of the equipment, as well as risk limiting audit, which will be the first time going forward with this as well here. So if there's any variances or discrepancies, it will be picked up in our post-election audits and making sure. All the equipment, of course, is logic and has logic and accuracy testing beforehand here, and making sure that everything moves forward, so that voters can feel safe and secure that the equipment that we have is accurate and will produce accurate results. So that's, and that moving forward with it, we have on a path line here to ensure that Maryland will have the most up-to-date equipment moving forward as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Greatly appreciate your time here. Thank you, State Administrator. It sounds like we are moving in a direction that makes us hopefully, and I guess this is for the record, litigation proof. But you never know. It seems like there's been quite a few suits lingering in the wake because of innovation and efforts to improve access to the polls. With that being said, are there any declarations or disclosure of campaign contributions at this time by the members? All
No.
right. Now, scheduling our next meeting. Looking at our calendars for next month. In May. 1, 2, 3. I'm looking at the 28th. The last Thursday.
28.
Okay.
It's following Memorial Day, the 25th. So I didn't want to buttress up against anyone's weekend holiday vacation travel, like the 21st through the 25th. So when you're all revived and from that robust vacation that you just were able to go on, the 28th, 2 o'clock.
Fine. 2
For me,
o'clock.
Mr. Chair.
Awesome. So we have May 28th at 2 p.m. on the record for our next meeting. With that, I know that we had initially set up a, in dialogue, we were with each other establishing or going to have a closed session to deal with personnel matter. But I am going to, yes, ma'am, I am going to postpone that closed session to extend time for review. All right. I did receive information pertinent to that personnel matter from each of the board members. And I appreciate your efforts and due diligence thus far. Things come up. So I am asking that we hold off on the closed session until next meeting. That would be May 28th, pursuant to the closed session in regards to the personnel matter. Are
Thank
we
you, Mr.
okay
Chair.
with that? Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all very, very much. I greatly appreciate, again, your due diligence and your effort and your commitment to the voters of Maryland. I am open to a motion to adjourn at this time. So moved by Vice Chair. Is there a second? Properly seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Unanimous consent. Thank